My name is Kristen Soper, and I'm a high school English teacher at Garden Spot High School. This is my 8th year at Garden Spot, and I feel very fortunate to be teaching English, which I love to do, and to be teaching at such a wonderful school and community. I grew up in the Reading area. I went to Exeter High School, so coming to Garden Spot, it was actually pretty different, even though it's not very far away. So I feel fortunate to have such wonderful students, supportive administrators, coworkers, and community. So I feel very lucky to be here with all of you, even during this crazy time period. So as I said, I've been a teacher now for 8 years. I live in Exeter still, and outside of school, I got married 3.5 years ago. Most recently, I had my daughter, who is 9 months old right now. Her name is Faye, and she keeps me very busy outside of school. So when I am in school and she's in daycare, I like to focus on what I can do to help my students so that when I can go home, I can just be with her. So I teach mostly ninth grade, and I love ninth grade because it's a good mix of being young enough that we can still have fun, but being mature enough that we can have serious discussions. So I think it is a wonderful grade. I've been teaching ninth grade ever since I started, as well as some other classes and grades. All right, so let me go over the syllabus with you. I'll try to answer any questions that you might have, tell you about the course, some other materials and resources that might be helpful to you. And if you have any questions, just let me know in email, or we can set up a Zoom at any point. All right, my email is right here in the syllabus. That's a great way to get in contact with me. I check my email very regularly. So any just casual question or serious question, feel free to email me. My phone number and extension are here as well if you'd like to talk to me on the phone, but I would have to be in my classroom available to talk to you. So that's why it might be a little bit better to email me and we could set up a time to talk. I'm available to help students during iSpartan pretty much every day, during homeroom, after school, on days when we decide to do that, throughout the day. So if students need help from me, iSpartan, or just contacting me about it is the first step. All right, this is called Keystone English 9. However, there is no Keystone affiliated with this course. There was supposed to be. The state of Pennsylvania was making a Keystone. It was writing intensive, but they never actually made it, and we never got rid of the Keystone part of the name of this course. So this is really a general English 9, still general communication skills. In 11th and 12th grade is when you get into more legitimate English classes that are focused on themes, as they should be: American literature, British literature, communications, journalism, things like that. But for now, we're still working on our general Common Core standards. So our main goals are, first, to start to get students ready for that Keystone exam they will take in 10th grade. So we start thinking about analyzing literature critically, being able to argue our opinions about literature using support from the text in text-dependent analysis or open-ended responses. We also work on our English-specific vocabulary, so we take what I call Keystone quizzes pretty often to work on those English-specific terms. Our other general goal, and our more important goal, is to just help students with their communication skills, to help them to read critically, as I was saying, to communicate their ideas, to support their thoughts in discussions, but also in formal writing, to be able to find good information when they're researching, to be able to use credible sources effectively to make decisions in their own lives, but also to persuade others. So just general, good skills for our lives. I have some principles in the syllabus for as we go back and forth from being virtual to in-person, and I have some in-person remote learners. Just basically the idea that even if we are not physically in the same place, we're still a classroom community, and I still expect the students to be a part of that, not apart. So I am open to communicating more with families as we go back and forth during this time. All right, and then the content of the class, I can tell you about some things we do every week. As I said, we'll work on our Keystone-specific vocab. Those are just English-specific vocabulary words. We have a blog that students will be posting different things in, especially some independent reading that they do. We'll work on Achieve 3000. It's a program that has nonfiction news articles that cater to students' specific lexile, that's their reading ability, in a way that it slowly pushes them to improve their reading over time. And then we'll be working on grammar skills regularly. I don't like to have a separate unit. I like to embed it in what we're doing. Then we have 4 units that we'll be working through together. Our first unit, which we are moving right along on, is just general successful habits for reading, writing, speaking, listening. Our main anchor text is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens by Sean Covey. I did link it there if you are interested in looking at that. It just gives 7 habits that are good for teenagers to think about their own lives and goals, how to build their relationships with others, and also how to not get burnt out trying to juggle all the things that teenagers have to juggle these days. So the students read those in small groups, and then they presented them to their classmates. They practiced good reading strategies when they read their section. They practiced good speaking strategies in their presentation. They practiced good listening strategies when they took notes on the presentations. And up next, we'll be practicing good writing strategies as we work on our Unit 1 essay, A Personal Pledge, where students are coming up with goals they have for their lives and figuring out the ways that they can achieve those goals and overcome obstacles using the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, but other ideas as well. So I don't know exactly when we'll be doing all of these things, but when I laid out where I thought this semester would go, these dates are where I thought we would be. So it really depends, on what happens. All right, Unit 2, where we will be headed next, is all about identity, thinking about who we are, what makes us who we are. There's an underlying theme throughout my whole class about problem solving, looking at issues in society, how we cope with them, what we can do to affect them, how they're related. So for Unit 1, we'll be thinking about these problems in society that we mentioned in Unit 1. And how they affect us individually and how we overcome them or don't. So our main anchor text is a memoir called My Dad Tried to Kill Me with an Alligator. It's a true short story by Harrison Scott Key. We'll do an open-ended on that. We do one open-ended every unit, text-dependent analysis, analytical analysis. And then the main assignment that we'll be working towards is every student will write his or her own unique memoir. So it is a short story about the student's life that is true. So something that they experienced or lived through. I read a lot of stories about broken bones and injuries, family members being sick, but also funny ones too, going to amusement parks and going hunting and you can write about pretty much whatever you want. It just has to be important to the student. We will have a midterm at that point in time practicing the English skills that we learned in the first 2 units. All right, Unit 3 is about breakdowns in communication, when we're trying to communicate and it doesn't always work out the way we want it to. So our anchor text is Romeo and Juliet, a play by William Shakespeare. So we'll be thinking about drama. And we will also be looking, as I said, more specifically at problems in society. And students are going to choose one that they care about and do some research on. They'll make a Google site informing their classmates about that problem. So they'll be teaching each other about some issues in our lives. Unit 4, we look at problems in society in literature as well as in our real lives. So we do some literature circles there. We look at either, each student can choose, The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd, 1960s, Civil Rights era, or To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, 1930s, Great Depression era. They both look at racism and prejudice through the eyes of a young female protagonist. But they obviously are different texts, different lexiles, so I let students choose. As they're reading those, we will be having student-led discussions where the students are responsible for coming up with discussion questions and promoting or facilitating discussion with their peers. Obviously, we'll do an open-ended response. Like I said, we do one every unit. And then they will be writing a persuasive essay where they'll think about how all of the characters we've read faced problems in their lives and in society, but then how we in our lives can face problems in society. So they'll build off of their problem from Unit 3. Whatever they wrote their Google site on, they will argue for one way to solve that issue. So students may look at homelessness or look at issues with screen time and social media or information literacy, or they may look at something with health and the pandemic, or they might look at any number of problems that are important to the students. So their persuasive essay is arguing for one way that we could work towards solving it. Most of these issues are pretty broad. I had a lot of students last semester who looked at police brutality and racial discrimination. So our class obviously cannot solve that problem. But in a class of 12 or 25, we can do something about it. We could write a letter to a school board or to our local representatives. We could donate money to a cause. Whatever the student cares about and the best way they think we can help that problem, that's what they'll write their essay on, trying to convince us to do that. And then they say that argument in a speech towards the very end of the class, trying to convince us to be on board with their idea. And we end with a final exam, again, practicing the skills from Unit 3 and 4. So that's where we're headed with this course. That's the content. I really care a lot about the ideas that we talk about as well as the skills. And I try to bring many opportunities for the students to choose what to write about, what to focus on, what to discuss. So I like having my students contributing to what we do in class as well. All right, some other logistics that you may want to know about. Grading procedures are pretty standard for my class, for every class, in particular for every English class. My class is weighted, so writing assignments, those essays are 30% of the grade. Our weekly Keystone quizzes are also 30%. The classwork, like worksheets we do in class to practice skills, are 20%. The open-ended responses that we do once a unit are 10. Homework in the form of mostly like Achieve articles are 10 for a total of 100%. The final grade, our F1 grade, the actual grade that matters for the class, averages marking period 3, 40% of that, marking period 4, 40% of that, the midterm, which is 10%, and the final, which is 10%. Okay, so I tell my students if they have a rough couple weeks, that not all is lost. They could still bring it up the second quarter or work on, other types of assignments to try to bring up their grade in a way that they are happy with, reflecting their effort in class. Late work loses points periodically, so one day late is 10%, 2 or more days late is 50% off. That's standard school policy. I have some protocols I talk to my students about, some classroom rules. And those are the main things that I wanted to tell you about the logistics of the class. Some other resources that might be helpful to you. I have a daily agenda. It's a Google slide that my students have access to, and I link everything we do. So last Friday, we started out with a quiz, and it links right to the quiz. So when someone is absent, they can see what we did and try to make it up. And I have a slide for each day of the class. This is linked in my Canvas course. Hold on. Well, I was going to do student view, but I forget how to do it right now. Okay, well, you can look at my view with me. My homepage of the course, so it's linked right here. And then everything we do is also in modules. That's where all the units are laid out. So I start out with some of the ongoing assignments in this introductory module, the blogs, Achieve articles. All right, then Unit 1 is here, everything we're working on. So the assignments are right here, and this is where students will submit the final assignment here in Canvas. So I have directions, examples, a rubric, and they submit right here. And this is also where I will be providing feedback in Canvas. So I grade right here and writing grades. And then Canvas syncs it with PowerSchool. So if there is ever an issue of a discrepancy, it might be just a technology glitch. So you can always email me. But again, I'm grading in Canvas. I don't really deal with PowerSchool on its own. All right, I think those are all of the main things that I wanted to tell you. So if you have questions for me, again, feel free to email me or we can set up a Zoom. I'm thrilled to be teaching your child this semester in an honors class. I love teaching honors classes. The students don't need quite as much help, so I have a little bit more time to be coming up with extending activities, but I also expect more high-level thinking and writing and creations. So again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I hope you and your son or daughter or child have a lovely semester. I'm here as always to help. Thank you. Bye.